listening to Throw the Podcast, brought to you by ThrowTheX.com, the very best in mediocre wrestling journalism. And now, your hosts, Jay Gunter and Ben Conrad.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Throw the Podcast, brought to you by the guys over at TTX. This is the SmackDown edition. I am your host, Jay Gunter. With me, of course, is not Ben Conrad, because he does our Raw review, which you can hear on ThrowTheX.com. After doing the Raw review, he typically needs a couple days in order to nurse the hangover before he can get back at it for our weekend episode. On this particular brand, we like to talk about what goes on SmackDown for the week, and that is exactly what we are going to do. So without further ado, let's get into it. So this week it was the first show since the announcement that from the McMahon family that things are going to be changing. If you missed that on Monday, basically all the McMahons, including Triple H, came out, said that they heard the fans, that they knew what was going on. They were sick of the lower ratings, and it was their fault, and things were going to start changing. On this week's SmackDown, you saw a little bit of it. I don't think you're really going to get to see if it happens. I mean, let me throw that out there. There's no guarantee that this is going to change. Okay. For all we know, their version of changing is the McMahons are going to get more television time. But, things on this SmackDown, you did get to see a little bit of it. Namely, you got to see talent that probably should have been pushed in the past, making returns, getting matches, things of that nature. And it showed. For instance, the very start of SmackDown, you had Shane McMahon kind of firing up the roster, telling everybody, hey, things are going to change. We're going to get after it. And then the women opened up the show. Of course, your newly crowned women's champion, Asuka, came out. Becky Lynch, the man, and Charlotte Flair came out, and they had a little squabble in the ring. Now, normally in the past, that would probably end with some sort of tag team match or something to do with the three of them. Instead, you actually saw Naomi come out and ask for a title shot, receive it against Asuka. There was no interference. There was no anything. You had Becky Lynch and you had Charlotte Flair out there for commentary, and yet the match went on like a normal match should. There was a definitive winner. Asuka beat Naomi. It was a pretty good match. Definitely, I don't want to say over choreographed, but you can tell that it really, the flow seemed kind of off to me. But it was still a good match. I mean, especially with something new that you really haven't seen. Carrying on, you also had a newcomer. I don't know if you can call him a newcomer because of that, but it's, of course, Mustafa Ali. Mustafa Ali, last week, actually made his SmackDown debut. Not really his WWE debut. He's been a face on 205 Live for quite a while, but he made his SmackDown debut in a pretty good match against Daniel Bryan. He really didn't get to show off a whole lot, but he still put on a good match. This week, he made his return, and he teamed with AJ Styles, and he took on Daniel Bryan and Andrade Cien Almas in a tag team match. The pace of this match was great. Everything looked good. The only issue I have with Mustafa Ali is if you want to make a name for yourself in the WWE, if you want to continue being featured, if you want to continue having television matches and maybe even earn yourself a little push, the way to do that is not by screwing up your finisher and almost hurting the world champion. In case you missed it, during the final minutes of the actual match, Mustafa Ali went to the top turnbuckle. He has a move, it's called the 054. It's basically like a inverted 450, hence the 054 if you get it. He, I think, under-rotated a little bit and ended up putting all of his weight right onto Daniel Bryan. You could actually see that right after it happened, he looked down and was making sure that Daniel Bryan was okay, which it turns out that he was, but that's not a really good start to that. On I'm glad they actually gave him a pinfall win. I think it probably should have been a pinfall win on Elmas, but I see why they did it. It was still a tag team match. AJ Styles was heavily involved in it, and you gave the kid a shot. You gave him a shining moment on his second SmackDown ever. I personally enjoyed it, except for, of course, I don't want to call it a botch because it still hit, but a dangerous finisher, if you will. A lot of other stuff happened during this, and this is where I get kind of confused, is that they're talking about, everything's going to change, they're listening to the fans. The very next segment was a continuation of one that's been going on since Saudi Arabia, which is, of course, The Miz trying to get Shane McMahon to be his tag team partner. This one just involved Vince. I personally find it hilarious. I know a lot of people out there. I talk to a lot of different people. They say they don't like where this one's going, that it's just comedy for the sake of comedy, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think having comedy injected into these shows is actually a good thing. It breaks up the action a little bit. This one featured The Miz kind of asking Vince McMahon for his permission to be the tag team partner of Shane McMahon, kind of like a man would ask the permission of the father to marry his daughter or something like that. I thought it was great. The only part that I really wasn't a fan of is Vince McMahon said, there's a way that you might be able to impress me. We're going to have a tag team match. I'm going to find out, or I am going to figure out your opponent and your tag team partner. Fast forward a couple matches later, you have The Miz come out wondering who his tag team partner is going to be, and it is none other than Mandy Rose. And then, of course, R-Truth, Carmella come out as their opponents. I see the logic. You need R-Truth and Carmella on the show to push the fact that, they won the stupid Facebook mixed match challenge. They're both going to be entrant number 30 into their respective Royal Rumble. Apparently, they got an all-expenses-paid trip to WWE headquarters in Stamford, Connecticut. This just didn't make any sense to me. Okay, you want The Miz to impress, so you put him in a mixed match tag team. Not only that, but you have R-Truth and Carmella, who are coming off that win, and they go under. The Miz and Mandy Rose actually win this one. If you wanted to give Miz a win, I see that. I see why you would need to do that, but I just don't feel that them being in a mixed match challenge should be the way to go about that. A little bit later, we had a tag team that I thought was actually worth it. Okay, you had the Usos come out, who, of course, tried but failed to win the tag team gold at TLC. They lost in a three-way to The Bar and, of course, New Day, who those three tag teams have just been kind of going in a huge circle the past, year, 2 years. It's been some combination of those three always just beating each other, getting the title back, and then re-challenging for the title. This SmackDown, it wasn't that way. You had Ben's all-time favorite tag team, the Good Brothers, come out, and they pointed out the fact that they haven't been featured on TV in damn near half a year. They pointed out the fact that before they signed with the WWE, they were considered the best free agent tag team out there. Of course, with their work with New Japan Pro Wrestling, their friendship with both Finn Balor and AJ Styles. They were doing a lot of good things internationally before they came to WWE. Once they got here, they really stalled. They weren't offered any type of push. Their debut looked like they were going to do something great, and then just after that, it was just a whole bunch of nothing. So I was really glad to see them come out and actually have a meaningful match with the Usos. Not only was it a meaningful match, but this one ended in a no contest. So they didn't go under. It wasn't a match just for the sake of having them on TV. The no contest came, Sanity came out and actually beat up both the teams. They took out the Usos, they took out the Good Brothers, and then as they're walking to the back, the Bar came out and went ahead and beat up the Usos and the Good Brothers one more time, just to make sure. So this is going in a lot of different directions now. You have Sanity, who, they got called up, and then they weren't featured on television for, what seemed like months. And then you had the Good Brothers, who came in with a great reputation, and then they weren't featured on TV for months. You have the Usos, who, they've been around forever, and they've been in the main event picture forever. You also have New Day, who, same thing as the Usos, and then you had the Bar get involved. So this is going to bring a lot of the tag teams up. You're going to see Sanity featured a little bit more. You're going to see the Good Brothers featured a little bit more. And to me, elevating those two can do absolutely nothing except for bring positive views to your tag team division. Okay, as much as I like seeing the Usos and the Bar wrestle, when you throw a new team in there, when you throw the Good Brothers in there, when you throw Sanity in there, that is only going to bring more eyes to the actual product. There's more people to root for. There's more storylines going up, things of that nature. Another thing that you had, which I'm just going to go over really quick. Jeff Hardy, you had him come out. It was supposed to be Samoa Joe was supposed to apologize to him. Samoa Joe came out and said, this is an apology, it's an intervention. For those who don't know, Samoa Joe was kind of getting into Jeff Hardy's past about his demons and everything like that. They kind of went at it. Jeff Hardy told Samoa Joe, oh, you must have really bad demons. Samoa Joe tried to hit him. Jeff Hardy hit him back, and then that was pretty much it. That was all they gave us. The only other part of SmackDown that was even worth talking about is the Rusev angle. And I'm not going to ruin anything for you. If for those of you that don't know, the future SmackDown, the actual Christmas version of SmackDown was pre-taped. But in this SmackDown, you had Rusev setting up his match with Shinsuke Nakamura, and it was hilarious. Okay, Rusev is great on the microphone. If you didn't hear his actual promo during the time, he just talked about, he said something like, I'm handsome. I'm a hunk. I got big biceps. I'm a superstar. I'm a super athlete. And I got a handsome beard. He even mentioned that his beard could sell for millions on eBay so that parents could make the hair into sweaters for their children. And it was fantastic. I'm a big Rusev guy. I love Rusev, and I hope that he gets a push for this. He deserves it, and he would be yet another welcome refresh to something that I think has gotten stale. Love me some Shinsuke. It's obvious that the WWE doesn't want to do anything with him. I'm confused by that. I know his contract's coming up. All signs kind of point to him staying in the United States, so I'm unsure why you have him as your champion and just don't even feature him. I mean, he's rarely on TV, minus a promo here or there. Every now and again, he's in a tag team match, but I don't know. To me, it's pointless. We're gonna talk a lot more about this stuff. For those of you that don't know, our flagship program, Throw the Podcast, it appears every weekend. Ben Conrad will be back with me, and we'll be able to go over all the backstage stuff, including Shinsuke's contract issues, future plans for different superstars. We have new NXT talent being called up that we get to talk about, and a lot of other stuff. So I really hope that you join us for that. You can follow us. We're on Twitter at TTX Wrestling. That's at TTX Wrestling. You can also go to our homepage. You can hear all the stuff that we've done previous to this, and that is throwthex.com. We are on Google Podcasts, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher. Pretty much, if it's a place for podcasts, you can find us on there. And we would really appreciate it if you took a listen, and always leave us some comments, okay? We love interacting with you guys. That's the reason that we even do this. Until then, I will see you next week. Guy with the cool voice, go ahead and take me out.
Thank you for listening to Throw the Podcast. Join us again next week for even more wrestling commentary.